today we have with us Mr. Peter Banks. He's the administrative head at St. John College, Dimapur. He holds a BSc Honours degree in Physics and an MSc in Energy and Environment Engineering. He has worked 3 years before with Fine Energy Limited, delivering small-scale, medium-scale wind projects. And right now he's working currently as an administrative head at St. John College. So welcome, sir, and thank you for joining with us. So, sir, my first question for you is regarding St. John College and your position there. So you have worked at St. John College as an administrative head. So tell us more about your philosophy of leadership and how do you operate things at St. John College?
Okay. So thank you for having me and inviting me to this conversation. So what to say? I am part of a leadership team at St. John College. We are underneath the overarching authority of the chairman and proprietor. It's a privately operated and privately run college. And then we have a director looking after the college, and also we have a sister school here on campus. So St. John Higher Secondary Residential School, very successful school in Dimapur. We share a campus with them. And then inside the college, where I spend my time, there's myself and the principal and vice principal form a management team or leadership team in the college. And then underneath us again, there's various heads of department and coordinators and this and that. So there's a fairly straightforward, normal hierarchy that you may find in most educational institutions. And in terms of how we operate, of course, major decisions will be taken up by myself and principal. The principal being more focused on the academic side of the day-to-day operations, and I am more focused on the logistics and operations with regards to services, facilities, etc. Working with the office staff and things like that. I think in terms of like a philosophy, we are trying to build confidence and a ability amongst our departments and various faculty to take up decisions themselves. We want to decentralize. We are not dictators in some great Soviet nation. We are trying to bring in the opinions and ideas of all those around us, because we are surrounded by many talented staff who have understanding beyond mine on certain issues. So we do try to delegate responsibility to the departments and to various faculty, and even to the student level through the student council, class reps, etc. We have the various departments, and most of the day-to-day running organization of the department will be taken up by the heads of department with their staff, and we have a number of extracurricular activities and programs that we run, and numerous clubs inside the college, music club and arts club, craft club, and they are kind of run by individual teachers and students. So we try to involve people as much as possible.
Okay, sir. So my next question for you is more regarding your interaction. Like you said, you handle operations of the institution. So how do you translate that same philosophy that you have, or the same work process or workflow that you have, to your fellow faculty members and students? Is there any way that you communicate this, or is there any way you interact with the same to them?
In terms of like how we handle the delegation of responsibility on it?
More like how you communicate, whatever philosophies you have with you, or whatever thought process that you have for your college. So, how do you communicate the same to them? Is there any process to it, or how does it happen? Like, does it happen organically, or do you have to have a
I mean, there's a certain amount of or organic flow to these things, in so much as, you know, myself and the principal, VP, and others will regularly meet with the heads of department, for example, or, you know, through IQAC group or various groups within the college. And when we meet with them, we'll be getting feedback from the department heads. You know, let's just, you know, stick on the departmental model. So, you know, if we're meeting with the head of department and maybe the department staff, you know, we will be taking feedback from the head of department, getting indications of their performance, and setting targets with them so that they are able to then return to their department with some confidence of what they need to achieve. So we will discuss with them and set the goals with them, but in terms of how they wish to achieve those goals, of course, we are ready to advise, but as much as possible, we wish them that they will go back to their department and come up with their own creative solutions to the problems that they may be facing.
Okay, sir. So, sir, can you tell us more about what strengths St. John College has, and you know what's your priority in the next 10 years? Like, what are you trying to achieve, basically in a region like Nagaland and Dimapur, which is a bit isolated from the mainstream Indian audience. So, you know, how do you carry forward, you know, try to go along with the same pace as the rest of the country in terms of education? Like, what's your priority, and how are you planning to achieve all of this?
Of course, I'm not so experienced in what is happening so well in the rest of the country, but my experience of the education system here is that it's strong. And the level of education of the students is good, and their ability to handle the materials is good. So I wouldn't want people to suggest that Nagaland is behind in terms of the quality of education. Perhaps access to certain infrastructures and things we are a little behind, but the students are up there with the best, no doubt. So in terms of what strengthens us or what our strengths are, you know, we're a Christian founded institution, and we have a strength in that faith that we share, and the kind of religious and moral foundation that we base our institution upon. These are very important to us. That does not mean that we are restrictive. We have students and staff from all faith backgrounds, but certainly in the management team, you know, we are strengthened by that. We have, I think, a local reputation built somewhat on the back of the success of the school. So in terms of history, the school is now 30 years old, whereas the college opened in 2006. We have a strong reputation locally for being somewhat disciplinarian, that we are strict in a number of aspects. I think some people are sometimes surprised, and indeed when we did our last NAC assessment, the peer team were quite impressed or surprised by the fact that we do not permit mobile phones on the campus whatsoever. So there are certain strict things that have been around for a while, but you know that we play it as a strength, and within the strict confines, we try to permit as much as possible the students to express themselves. So, okay, we may be strict on these aspects of a mobile phone, but we promote one-on-one conversation, and we like to see our students active in sports and activities. Like I said, we have numerous clubs. One of our faculty just recently launched a two-wheeler club, so they're planning to go on tours together with the students out and about on their two-wheelers when the situation permits. So there's lots and lots of activities going on, so long as the students are ready to live within the somewhat strict rules and regulations that we set. I think your second question was relating to the future.
Yeah, more into what your priorities are in the coming years. What are you planning to do in the coming years?
We're discussing many different options, and I think us, as with everyone else, our plans have somewhat been put on hold with the present situation. There's certain constraints that we're all under. But we always wish to strengthen what we have. We do not, I should be careful how to say this, like I don't want to sound like we are not striving for more, but we do not wish to add extra programs or jump through certain hoops for the sake of it. We're not going to open up a master's level program if our undergraduate level program isn't quite what we want it to be, or we have a area that we're working in, and we wish to strengthen that to be the best that it can be in that particular field. In terms of obstacles or things that we recognize over the next 10 years, we wish to build up more students who are academically able. We have an excellent reputation academically. Just in this past set of exams, we had 5 gold medalists coming out of the college. So we're very happy with that. But we want students to be able to express themselves and to develop skills outside of the classroom that they may be able to expand their own knowledge, and we want to produce well-rounded students, good citizens who are aware of the opportunities that are there. I think a major issue that we face as an institution is that many of our students don't necessarily have a clear plan for their future. They are studying maybe at the behest of their parents or friends. And I think a lot of people are not thinking of the future and are maybe not aware of the scope of opportunity that there is. Nagaland, as a percentage of population, Nagaland is the #1 state in terms of the percent of population in government service. And that is perhaps reflected in the students who are very much single-mindedly focused on securing government positions. And while not saying that that is wrong as such, there are many, many more opportunities available. So students, we wish to ensure that they are aware of all the opportunities that are there and mold them and develop them so that whatever field they happen to land in, they are confident and able to do that. I think over the last few years, we've developed and continue to develop a stronger focus on research, academic research, both amongst the staff and even at student level. So compared to other colleges locally, I think we are one of the few, if not the only, that as a rule takes up a honours project or a dissertation project in the 6th semester, which gives our students an opportunity to learn research skills that will support them as they go into masters and maybe even PhD level. So, this is something that we have decided at a management level is the correct approach. Having spent 2.5 years in only classroom studies, taking up one paper in a research mindset is good to broaden the horizons of the students.
Right, sir. That was very well answered, sir. So my next question is more with regards to how you're coping. I mean, I'm guessing the classes are happening online. So how are you keeping up with the? I mean, how's the transition been for you? Like, it's the first time I think for almost all schools and colleges in India that we are moving to a transitioning towards an online studies. So, what was it like for you, and what's the current? How are you doing it right now? Like, how was it going on, and how is it going on right
now? So we took up Google systems pretty early. We were, before the lockdown occurred, we had already been using at a very low level Google services. We were already set up with G Suite and G Suite for Education, as it was at that point. It's now changed branding, but we were already set up with these things. We had faculty email IDs, student email IDs. So in that moment, it was relatively easy to transition and start using Google Classroom on a more regular basis. And we have continued to persist with Google Classroom as a primary resource for dissemination of notes and conducting assignments and so on and so forth. We have been looking strongly at moving to a different platform, and probably we will. But given the students and the staff are now somewhat familiar with Google Classroom, despite its few drawbacks, it's meeting our requirements of now, and we will probably transition to a different platform when we are more regularly in college and we're able to interact and train our staff and students on another platform. Obviously, the lockdown came as a shock to the system for everyone in education, but we are excited and we look forward to moving into this new normal, even when the lockdowns end. And we record this video on the 20th of July. The present guidance is that we may be having students back on campus on the 2nd of August. So just a couple of weeks from now, we will be starting again, not full, but with 50% capacity, something like that. And we're getting into a situation where we are able to implement blended learning. So rather than being 100% online, which has its drawbacks, or 100% offline, which has its different set of drawbacks, we're able to operate in a blended learning mode where we are disseminating notes and materials and things through the online platform, and meeting in person to clear doubts and to have more dynamic lessons in the college, more group discussion, more classroom activities that you can do when the students are coming in prepared, having read their background at home. So, this is going to be the new era of education. And what to say, if the traditional schools and colleges are to continue to be relevant, we have to make sure that what is occurring in the classroom and on the college campus is worthwhile and meaningful and exciting for students. Otherwise, why would nobody do everything online? There are so many great platforms now, be it YouTube, be it Khan Academy, be it Coursera, whatever. There's so many opportunities for people who want to learn in their own way, that us colleges are kind of more traditional bricks and mortar institutions are going to have to be careful to make sure that we are both relevant and exciting for students to attend in the future.
Okay, sir. So my final question for you, like with the pandemic and everything that's been going around, students, they are in a bit of a tense situation. I mean, they're a bit in a clouded mindset. So what advice would you like to give them, or what assurance would you like to give them in terms of how they should move forward?
What to say? I feel like again, falling back on our religious background, we say that all things are in the hands of God, and there's no point in worrying too much, right? anxiety and stress, I think, is everywhere right now, and you cannot plan for every circumstance, and your worst case scenarios are not going to happen every time, right? So there's no point in worrying and stressing too much. On the flip side, it's still important to set yourself goals and to have a clear vision for where you are going. Coming back to something I mentioned earlier in the interview, I do find that a lot of students are somewhat aimless and goalless, and they are coming to college more because they are advised to than because they want to be here themselves. And under such a scenario, it is difficult to bring the best out of yourself. If you are going to be the best person that you can be, it is important that you have a goal and a vision that you are working towards and something that you want. So trying to identify, if I'm to give somebody or give students a single piece of advice, it would be to identify a target, to sit down and work out what they need to do to achieve that target, and then to really set their minds to it, to make sure that they are ticking off every step to meet the target that they're going for. Because I feel without that target, your day-to-day becomes routine and mundane and difficult to maintain your motivation.
Yes, sir. Very rightly said, sir. Sir, so thank you so much. Thank you for such an insightful and thoughtful session. I think we all had something to take from this interview, and we have we have got something out of this interview, and hopefully even the students will get something out of it to know about how to go about going forward. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining with College Dunia for the interview. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.